Welcome back to Ana Dialogue, the dialogue on analog music reproduction. As most of you know, it's that time of the year. Yes, every year I do a special video dedicated to a specific year of the 70s. And clearly, it's always going to be the same year, but 50 years ago. Meaning, in this episode, 1975, because we are in 2025. If you haven't seen all the previous ones, 74, 73, 72, 71, 70, go and get them. I'll put all the links here below in the video description, because every video is practically a summary of the best recordings, rock recordings of that specific year. As always, it's going to be a mixture, meaning that some albums are practically objective and others are more of subjective, meaning that it's more of my choice. Okay, let's start immediately with our first record. And as you know, almost always I have to put a record by him because he is the king. Who am I talking about? David Bowie, Young Americans. Oh yes, baby! Now, this is not one of my favorites, okay? I must admit this specific year has some incredible records, but a lot of records, good records, but nothing to write home about. So, even then, from that point of view, it's going to be a little bit of a mixed bag. Okay, so this was actually recorded in America because at a certain point he just started to be more American than British. It's in fact, it was released on RCA in America. It was produced by Tony Visconti and mixed by the recording engineer Greg Calbi. And this was mainly done, as most fantastic records, on tour, the Diamond Dogs tour, which was the prior record that was present actually in the other video in the 1974. Okay, it's already spinning. Maybe a lot of people don't know this. I'm not just going to show you some covers and pass on. No, I'm going to do needle drops for everything. Unfortunately, in some cases, YouTube may block the video, so I'm going to have to cut it out, okay? Maybe I'll put a link to that part if it's cut out. Otherwise, you're going to find them all here. Also, a lot of people always ask me, how do you get away with that? I don't get away. I just lose monetization. But that's the connection with you guys. I think it's worthwhile. Okay, let's start immediately. I want to listen along with you. And in most cases, I'm going to put just the first track. Okay, let's start.
Pulled in just behind the bridge, he lays her down. He frowns, gee, my life's a funny thing. Am I still too young? He kissed the then and there. She took his ring, took his babies. It took him minutes, took her nowhere. Heaven knows he'd have taken anything. All night. She wants a young American. The young American standing right through the picture window. She finds a slinky vagabond. He coughs as he passes a Ford Mustang. Heaven forbid she take anything but the freak and his title for nothing. This is a step and cuts his hand, showing nothing. It swoops like a song she cries.
You got the picture. Well, clearly here we're departing from the more glamorous glam rock style of the past, more R&B, more soul, and actually there are some tracks missing that you can get on CD. That happened a lot of times, unfortunately. Plus there are two songs done together with John Lennon, so there was this connection with him, which I think it's fantastic. Okay, let's proceed with our second album. Okay, so I forgot to say this was an original pressing, first pressing British pressing of David Bowie. Now let's proceed with our second one, which is less known, let's say, at least from that band. Usually its first album is a little more famous, or at least the prior one, not the first one. And but I think this is a great example of American rock with these fantastic influences, with a little folk, a little country, great sound, great musicians, just that juicy rock that with that little touch also of country that we are greatly missing today. What am I talking about? The Doobie Brothers' Stampede. Oh, yes. And this is going to be the last album with the lead vocals from Johnston. And let's try immediately to listen to the first track. Just a few seconds. Explore, please. Clearly the Captain and Me is the most famous of all, but this was great. Also, I forgot to mention that also Curtis Mayfield and Ry Cooder collaborated on this. Wow. Original pressing. Okay, let's proceed now with our third album. Okay, our third album, I would say, is practically the verdicts of this phase. One of the best albums, rock albums, I would say, of all time, and clearly of the band. Who am I talking about? Queen, A Night at the Opera. Yes. Now, they were already doing a lot of stuff up until now, but here we start really to hear that famous Queen sound, even though I love even the 70s versions of phase, we could say. Here they adopted a huge amount of multi-track recorders. In fact, here we also have Bohemian Rhapsody, which now, thanks to the movie, it's incredibly famous. But it shows how much effort was put in this. In fact, this is is, up until then, the most expensive album of all time. Once again, up to that moment, okay? Afterwards, even more. But up to that moment, this was the most incredible, expensive album in rock history, and not only. Very complex, very difficult production, produced also by Queen. Very complex, a lot of effects. It was recorded in 7 studios, a nightmare. But here, you can really see this passion, effort, the concept in creating, in giving birth, really, to an album. Something where the band was deeply involved. And it's something, once again, I want to underline this, that we are greatly missing, you guys, nowadays. It's just incredible what was the difficulties, the quality, painstaking hours put in trying to craft a perfect album. And they did this in every time, okay? You may see these guys just singing along, hey, ha, ha, doing crazy things on the stage. But once the limelight was off, they put a lot of work in creating these. Okay.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see. I'm just a poor boy, I need no sympathy, because I'm easy come, easy go, little high, little low. Any way the wind blows doesn't really matter to me. To me. Mama just killed a man, put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead. Mama, life had just begun, but now I've gone and thrown it all away. Mama, ooh, didn't mean to make you cry. If I'm not back again this time tomorrow, carry on, as if nothing really matters.
Sorry, otherwise the video is going to be too long. But clearly, if you don't know it, I doubt it, but if you don't know it, try to listen, because then the song changes dramatically, and clearly the rest of the album is fantastic. Okay, let's proceed with our next album. Okay, our next album, number 4, is considered one of the greatest album, once again, of rock history. So we are lucky for this year, but as I said, we don't have that pattern, I think, that was present in 1970, 71, 72, where we had dozens and dozens of fantastic albums. In this year, so-so, but a few, oh baby, oh mama. And this is one. What am I talking about? Physical Graffiti by Led Zeppelin. Here we have a QX SVP version by Classic Records, because at that time, late 90s, I believe I bought them practically all, and these are very sought after. I mean, they're considered among the best. And as I'll show you, I mean, it is also a perfect replica of the album, because this was a very difficult cover, especially the cover, to do. And this was done mainly based on, the group created 8 new songs, but also they combined it with 7 older songs they already had. And this is their first release on Swan Song Records, the first release of their own record company, actually, because they wanted to have full control. And a lot of these new tracks just got modified and created and were born, we could say, during the sessions. And that is also something, once again, I want to underline how these things were also crafted on the moment. Not everything was perfectly organized. Like Kashmir just came out of practically from a riff that Jimmy Page heard. He was doing it, he liked it, and he made an evolution of it. Fantastic. And now today, I mean, everything is so quick and precise, and keep on going, keep on moving. The fun thing is that, now I'll show you, it's very difficult. This building, which is still present actually in New York, if I don't go wrong, and they made all these little pictures appear inside, how you move it also here and in the rear, and it was so complicated that in fact this album was supposed to be released in 1974, but it took so long that in the end it got released in 1975. Insane. Double album. Let's hear something. Okay, that's enough. I gave you 3 tracks. Let's proceed. Okay, our next album is a very special album, not that famous. A few tracks are, but the album and the band, let's say, are less known, at least compared to the other ones, absolutely. I did a dedicated video to this specific album because I found an original master tape copy of it. So here is a link of this album, and you're also going to find it here below in the video description. What am I talking about? 10cc original soundtrack. Oh yes. So I'm not going to discuss practically anything about this. I'm just going to put one track, which I think it's paramount. I have to do it. And I invite you to take a look to that video to know a little more, to learn a little more, and also to listen to the fantastic master tape I found.
It's just a silly phase I'm going through. And just because I call you up, don't get me wrong, don't think you got it made. I'm not in love, no, no.
We all know that one. Let's proceed to our next album. Okay, our sixth album is another great album from another great rock band. A rock band that I deeply love. And this is Jethro Tull, Minstrel in the Gallery. Oh, yes. Now, this was actually recorded outside the UK. It was recorded in Monaco, and Ian Anderson created practically a special recording transportable console and all the different gear to do this. And it's practically almost a live recording. I mean, there are not that many overdubs. So that's also something very special that, once again, ain't gonna happen anymore, or very rare, or indie bands or minor productions, but not a famous rock band like Jethro Tull, meaning someone famous now would do something like that. You close yourself in the studio, you do that, everyone tells you what to do, and there's not that much space for creativity. There is, but not in general. And in the 70s, which I, as you understood, think it's the best decade of rock, of pop music, we can say in general terms, of all our history. Okay, so let's listen. Finally going back a little more to the more acoustic folk type of sounds, let's listen to Something. Love also the cover. That comes from a painting by John Nash. I think its name was, I have here some notes, Joseph Nash, yes.
My lord and lady, we have fortuitously happened upon these strolling players who will provide you with their goodly tunes whilst you set about your...
Yes, but I better have. I can't see you down there, all right. I don't think they're going to like this.
So, my lord and lady, for your entertainment.
The minstrel in the gallery looked down upon the smiling faces. He met the gazes, observed the spaces between the old men's cackle. He brewed a song of love and hatred, oblique suggestions, and he waited. He polarized the pumpkin eaters, static humming panel beaters, freshly they glowed factory cheaters, salaried and collar scrubbing. He titillated men of action, belly warming and still rubbing on the parts they never mentioned. He pacified the nappy suffering, infants bleating one-line jokers, TV documentary makers, overfed and undertakers, Sunday paper backgammon players, family scars and women haters. And he called the band down to the stage, and he looked at all the friends he made.
Genius. I think you got the picture here. And here, actually, for the first time, this is one of the first albums where they adopted the use of the Eventide 1745 to created a digital delay to create this effect of multiple instruments, of double instruments. Very cool. Okay, let's proceed. Our 7th record is from incredible talent, still alive today. He was already at its 15th album, studio album, with this release. He's still producing incredible records, more on the folk side, but I had to put Blood on the Tracks by Bob Dylan. Oh yes. This is actually one of his most famous albums. And this was a very dark period. Even this title is rather eloquent. He was separating himself from his wife, Sarah. And sorry for the noise. And it was just, there was a great influence also by this special painter and also by Anton Chekhov, at least that's what he declared. And also at a certain point he took away a lot of tracks, unfortunately, and his producer was rather sad about this. And in fact, in the CD version, you do find them inserted back in, and probably it makes sense to listen to all the different tracks that this album was supposed to have. Let's listen to some.
Early one morning the sun was shining, I was laying in bed, wondering if she'd changed it all, if her hair was still red. Her folks, they said our lives together sure was gonna be rough. They never did like Mama's homemade dress, Papa's bank book wasn't big enough. And I was standing on the side of the road, rain falling on my shoes, heading out for the East Coast. Lord knows I paid some dues getting through, tangled up in blue. She was married when we first met, soon to be divorced. I helped her out of a jam, I guess, but I used a little too much force. We drove that car as far as we could, abandoned it out west. Split up on the docks at night, both agreeing it was best. And she turned around to look at me as I was walking away. I heard her say over my shoulder, we'll meet again someday on the avenue, tangled up in blue.
Okay, let's proceed with our 8th album. An instrumental album, a rock album, a great album. Who am I talking about? One of the greatest guitarists that unfortunately just left us just a couple of years ago. Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow. Oh yes. A perfect jewel of fusion, meaning rock, jazz, funk, I would say also. Just incredible. And he also brought on board good old Stevie Wonder to write a few of these songs. Fantastic combination. He really added a special something. And this amazing album, even though it's a little out of the normal type with lyrics and people singing, this album was produced by George Martin, who also gave his special touch. Let's listen to the first track, which is something incredible. Okay. This video is going to be too long, you guys. Let's proceed. Please explore. Please explore. Let's proceed. Our 9th album is a rock country album. Not so much country in respect to the other ones. And that is also why somebody left the band, besides other reasons. And this is the 4th album of this band that really brought them to fame-dom, the consecration of their project. Who am I talking about? One of These Nights, the Eagles. Oh, yes. I forgot to say that most of these albums, not this one, but all the rest, are original pressings. This one is a little more new, I think, yes. And this is going to be the final album with the original lineup of, I have to read all the names, Randy Meisner, Glenn Frey, Don Henley, and Bernie Leadon, who left the band, as I said. Okay, let's listen to one of the most famous tracks of all. And remember, I mean, the biggest selling album of all time is the Eagles' greatest hits. So that must mean something. It's not an album. It's a compilation. Now, as you can hear, this track has some dance influences. Actually, yes, not the rest of the album, but this one especially, because they were a little bit having some issues with this big, huge rise of dance music in the 70s. So they wanted to try to introduce this in their albums, but maintaining rock-solid guitars. And I think they achieved it. And then clearly there are pieces like Take It to the Limit, which are just something fantastic. Explore if you don't know. Let's proceed. Our 10th album, there's going to be an 11th. As you know, sometimes I go 11th. It's another great album. It's considered less famous and a little worse, we could say, than the prior ones. I think it's fantastic. It has great hits inside. And this is just one incredible rock album of America that I deeply love. They just have a special sound, I think. What am I talking about? Nuthin Fancy by Lynyrd Skynyrd. Oh, yes, baby. And you just have to listen to the first track, I think. Actually, it's the first track of the other side, because I have a misprint on the label, so sometimes I mix them up. In any case, this should be the track that I deeply love and danced on many nights. An air guitar.
see you hanging around. You wanna ride in my big black car, babe. Wanna go uptown, yeah. I know who you are, babe. And I know what they call you, girl. Never put you down, babe. I'm just like you, baby. I'm in the hunt. Oh, and every night I hunt you, baby.
Okay. And actually, this is their first album to reach the top 10 in the US, even though for some specific tracks, as you know, like Sweet Home Alabama or things like that, the other ones were much more renowned. But this got into, I think, number 9. Yeah, it got number 9. I mean, great stuff, really. And there's a lot of great hits. Explore, please. Let's proceed to our last one. Okay. Clearly, for our last position, something that you cannot exclude. One truly of the top 10, I would say, rock albums, if not music albums of all time. What am I talking about? Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. Oh, yes, baby! Okay, so this was mainly recorded at Abbey Road. And we have practically two main concepts here, merging concept. Each track is a jewel. Just incredible. I mean, The Dark Side of the Moon is fantastic, but this comes right after it, I think. And for certain aspects, it's right up there, I think. This was mainly a critique towards the music industry on one side, and on the other, a tribute to Syd Barrett, which unfortunately was not anymore with them for all his mental issues. And actually, he showed up, poor guy, he showed up during the recording of these sessions, and they did not recognize him, poor guy. He was staying there for a few hours, and finally someone of the band recognized him, my God. And then he went away, and they never saw him again. So that is also a very strange connection with this album. Like Shine On Your Crazy Diamond and things like that are based on him, thinking about him. Wow. And we don't have anymore Alan Parsons, which was the record engineer for The Dark Side of the Moon. Here we have Brian Humphries, which wasn't perfectly acquainted with certain solutions and certain techniques and methods. In fact, they lost sometimes some tracks and they had to start all over. Insane. In any case, we have this jewel and it's going to stay here with us forever. Okay, let's listen to, let's say, the first track here. Okay, so since this is so famous, I have to put one last track showing the other side, the critique to the industry, let's say. Okay guys, on these notes, we are closing this video dedicated to the best albums of rock albums of 1975. Clearly there are many, many, many more. Just to cite a few that I do have here: Graaf Generator, Godbluff, The Who My Numbers, Patti Smith, Horses, Brian Eno, Another Green World, Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic, Supertramp, Crisis What Crisis, Rush, Fly By Night, The Thin Lizzy, Fighting, Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run, Steely Dan, Katy Lied, Fleetwood Mac, Black Sabbath, Sabotage, and the list goes on and on. There's so many. So please add your own here in the comments. We are all interested. Thank you so much for watching, and remember that music is born analog.
If you are enjoying my content, please consider to subscribe. It's free, and it will help the channel tremendously. Also, don't forget to explore my prior videos. There's something for everyone.
Welcome to the audiophile community.